Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tea Time. We could do this for the entire episode, but I'm not going to. So as you may have noticed, there's two kittens behind me. They are without names. The one that is all black is male. The one that's black and white is female. If you have ideas for names, feel free to tweet them at me at JaKaTaKtv. Moving on to today's topic. Today I'd like to talk about the skill floor. In StarCraft, well, in most competition in general, there is a certain skill floor, and there's also a skill ceiling. The skill ceiling is something that we hear about all the time, but the skill floor is not. We're going to begin with a slight assumption. My assumption is going to be that the ideal scenario is a game that is easy to learn, but impossible to master, and that way everyone is having fun playing it. It's easy to get into. And then on the other hand, you do have this high level esport and sort of all in there. So if we start from that assumption and we go from where we are to where, to that direction that we've made the assumption is positive and good for the game, then we should be looking at things that affect the skill floor in a good way, which means a lower skill floor. And we also want things that affect the skill ceiling in a positive, in a good way, which is higher, right? We want to be the ever-expanding universe of skill. So things that might do that, right? And the reason why this sort of topic came up in my head was the worker supply, army supply fiasco. And I call it a fiasco, even though it shouldn't be, because there's like a debate about this, which to me is... maybe I'm being misinformed. Maybe I'm missing one of the major points, but let's go ahead and just show worker and army supply. It's so huge. If you think about all the different things you might display on the screen, think about all the things on the StarCraft UI, right? Command card, don't really need that, but we put it there for the new players. Okay, cool. Center selection, we can do some clicking. There is some non-used area of the UI over in that bottom section. Left is the mini-map, super important, probably the most important part of the whole screen that you ever look at. You have the main screen as well, all this other stuff. But I feel like two numbers over there that will say army supply and then your worker supply would be amazing. And Blizzard has gone with this sort of compromise that's like, okay, you can see it, but it's not there all the time. You have to hover over it. Dave Kim gave some reasons. Dave Kim, the Dave. And it's sort of like, I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with all of them. And it's interesting. Let's just go ahead and see what he said was the reason behind this compromise, or what I'm calling a compromise. We've seen some great questions and comments about the worker army feature in the UI. We're going to explain it. Reason number one, that number is not something that players have to know every second of the game. Reasonable. Number two, avoid having too much information displayed on the UI, which I think is... it's kind of meh, right? It's kind of sort of not something that I necessarily agree with here. Normally I cut off this camera so the mic isn't showing, but then you wouldn't see the kitty. Priorities. So I'd like to preface this part by saying I'm not going to communicate any NDA type stuff, or this isn't the opinion of Blizzard. This is my opinions and ideas completely. They're informed only by my public interactions with Blizzard and the things that Blizzard has done publicly that lead me to believe certain things. All right, no NDA stuff in here, no secret information. Don't look for it. It's not there. I think this is a compromise. I don't think that reason number one and reason number two are strong enough to warrant this compromise. I feel like this is a compromise because Blizzard doesn't want to piss off all the people who are used to two numbers in the top right and don't feel like they need the worker and army supply. And this, oh my God, this is an argument, a conversation that has been had over and over and over and over again in the StarCraft community, going all the way back to multiple building select and auto mining workers. So if you didn't play Brood War, you used to have to box the worker every time it came out and send it to start mining. Okay. That is some serious skill floor destroying stuff. So the skill floor gets way high because of that. And sure, skill ceiling is still way up here, but at a certain point we reach the current limits of human beings, right? Like there's only so much a human being is capable of at this point in time. Right now, that's here, right? StarCraft is like way up here. Brood War is, up in the sky, literally, in my example, right? So, figuratively? In any case, the point is that we're nowhere near getting to the point where human beings can play perfect StarCraft. Nowhere near. Something like just allowing this to happen would be great for the people at the bottom, and it wouldn't hurt the people at the top. What it would do is it would force a bunch of players who have put in a lot of time into their current UI setup. They're going to have to make an adjustment because there's going to be a change and they're not going to be used to it. And that's going to happen in like 2 seconds, right? That's like, I would count this as effectively zero effect to higher level players and only positive effect to low level players. Now I'm going to take this a step further. I think ideally, we should have army supply, worker supply, not just permanently displayed, but displayed over the minimap with the other important information. I want to look to the bottom left and like, all right, that's all my important information. Great. Main screen for micro. Beautiful. Back to important information. That's what I want to see. Is that crazy? It seems so, because we're so used to having it in the top right. That would definitely be a negative effect on the players at the top. But it wouldn't really mess with the skill ceiling. It would just force this moment in time of a week or so where players are getting used to the new thing. And that would be followed by increased multitasking, increased, mini-map awareness and things like that, which I think is cool. I think it's more interesting to watch players like Beyond be really, really good instead of watching players make mistakes and lose because they're making mistakes. Ideally, I feel like as an esport, the victories should mostly come from the superb performance or skill of a particular player and not like, oh, looks like this guy blundered really hard, game's over. Which it's still going to happen, right? There has to be that range for the different areas of performance to be impressive. We have to have bad performances too. We have to have mistakes too. That's just the way it's going to happen. But I feel like when we're making changes or considering changes, we should be moving towards players playing better. I want to see players play better. I want to see the macro mechanics removed from the game. And I'm just stacking on, at this point, I'm just stacking on all these controversial things that I've been saying for a long time. I want Burrow to work just like Siege Unsiege with 2 buttons. Are a bunch of people going to have to relearn some buttons? Yes, they are. But guess what? It would be amazing long term. This is all about short term loss for a long term gain. And it's about squeezing in as much investment in loss, right? Which is what we're doing. We're taking a hit short term in loss for a gain long term. As much of this as we can so we can have benefits in the long term. So consider quality of life upgrades to StarCraft. Consider the idea of not having to fight with the UI to do what you want to do, and matches being more determined on the skill of players rather than their ability to memorize rote tasks and their mastery of the UI. And this is one such change that I feel is a nice little quality of life improvement that we might be able to make to StarCraft. It's very small. It doesn't hurt the skill ceiling in a significant way, but it just makes things a little more consistent. The more consistency we can have in the game, the easier it is for intuitive learning, the faster people pick up the game. And that I think is really important, at least to me. So for the purposes of demonstration, we're going to do this. Friendly fire damage happens, death happens, so sad. Let's bring this one out here. However, if you pick it up, the explosion doesn't go off, it cancels. Cool. And there's a sort of, get out of here. There's a sort of similar effect that happens with adepts, where they will have something out in the map called a shade, but you can't load in. You have to cancel and then load in. Now, you might be able to say, you might say something like, oh, well, This forces players to have higher APM because they have to do 2 actions instead of 1. But like, to me, that's not a very interesting part of the game. We could have much more interesting things happening as soon as I get to unload everything, right? We can have much more interesting things happening in the game than all that. And it's not visual as well, right? It's not visual. It's not a way that players really show off their skill in a match. Be like, oh my God, did you see that adept cancel? That was amazing. Keep in mind, let me explain this to you as the caster for a second, that he had to do 2 actions to pick that up. So it's even harder than Disruptor. It's like, no one has time to A, explain that, and B, it doesn't really matter. Let's see what the cats have to say on this. Cats? Interesting. That's it for now. What kind of ideas do you have that you think would help the skill floor while not hurting the skill ceiling? That is today's question of the day, and maybe we'll have more questions like this. Gonna try to do some more mixed media type tea time. So let me know how you like this format. If you think I should break it up, you think I should keep it together, etc. My name is JaKaTaK, and as always, thanks for watching. If you have an idea for a video you'd like me to do, please leave it with any questions, comments, criticisms, concerns, and your names for the cats. I'll see you again soon. Thank you, Mr. Adorable Kitten, for your super helpful input. It seemed as though a battle may just begin. Maybe not. Oh, uninterested. Uninterested. It looks like this has become nap time.